Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Let's have a look at 2023. Let's peer ahead a little bit because the fights that we've got scheduled for 2023, Usyk Fury seems to be getting a lot of talk. Beterbiev and Anthony Yard, yep, a lot of people are talking about that. But there's one that I think it's potentially a really good fight. And it is kind of slipping under people's radars a little bit. And I'm talking about in terms of it being a really great fight. Never mind all the, piss and wind that goes on on Twitter and all that sort of stuff. I'm talking about this actually being a really good fight. And that is Liam Smith against CHRIS EUBANK Jr. Now, like I mentioned, there's been a lot of chit-chat beforehand. Eubank is basically trolling Smith, saying, I only need to turn up 50% will do it, no problem. I've got you. You're an easy fight, basically. I'm at 50%, I'm beating you. And Smith is the type who will bite on comments like that. He won't just laugh it off. He'll actually come back with stuff, and he has done. And on Christmas Day, Eubank Jr. was supposedly sparring, wearing a Santa hat. How true that is, I don't know. I don't think it really matters, but I'm not on Twitter, but I read this tweet. It said, Smith used some very naughty language, very, very naughty indeed, very, very un-Christmassy language. He said, the same stupid beep said he won't give up nothing for Christmas for me, but it's in the gym on Christmas Day sparring. So Smith, a bit of biting. He's taking it serious, and I think Eubank is just taking the piss. One's taking it serious, one's taking the piss. It's a good combination for a build-up. But I think in terms of the actual fight itself, when you get all that nonsense out of the way, I think this could be a really good fight because you've still got to wonder about Eubank Jr. at middleweight, making the weight. I mean, he spent a couple of years at super middle, lost to George Groves, won a couple of fights, did well. And but I just got to wonder, at the age he is, early 30s, that was he 32, getting out to 160 again, it's got to take something out of him. I know he lives the life, I know he probably diets correctly and so on and so forth. I just wonder about the weight. And Smith, of course, is moving up from light middle or super welter if you prefer. So he'll be quite comfortable at that weight. As a new weight, we always like to see, or at least I always like to see, fighters settling into the weight, having a few fights before taking on a... What would you call Eubank Jr.? Would you call him a world-class fighter? He's certainly not far off it. I'd say he's world-class. So Smith's going in with a world-class guy, but he has a ton of experience himself, has beaten some good men, has fought. I mean, I know he lost to Canelo. Munguia he lost to. Gave Munguia a pretty good fight, actually, although he was on the floor. But Smith is not overawed by the big occasion, and he's certainly not overawed by names. So Liam Smith, I think, he's a slow starter. Eubank Jr. can start fast. He himself is a slow starter, but if you look at him against Abner Yildirim, I mean, he went into the Lions. I know Yildirim turned out to be no great shakes, but he was undefeated at the time. And Eubank went into the Lions' den and started pretty quick and got rid of Yildirim. And, of course, Eubank's pet punch is the uppercut. Now, if he starts quick, and Smith always likes to sort of edge his way into a fight, little feeling out round or two, and then he gets his engine running, he could walk onto an uppercut and Eubank could finish him early. That's feasible. I wouldn't dismiss that. But if Smith survives those early rounds, I'd say the first three, and that engine does get revved up, does get heated up, and Smith starts to work some nice combinations, starts to maybe get a feel for the range, uses the jab, hangs some crosses and hooks off the jab, I see this as being a very interesting fight indeed. Because although Eubank does fire combinations, he tends to fight in spurts. Whereas I think Smith, once he gets going, is very consistently busy and grinds people down. And I don't think he'll stop Eubank at all. I think that's very, very unlikely. But I definitely do think he's got a chance of outworking Eubank and winning a decision. Now, Eubank will sort of, let's say that I said that to Eubank, he would poo-poo the idea. Yeah, don't be so ridiculous. But no, I think if you look at the Groves fight, for large portions of that fight, I know Groves is a much bigger man than Smith, and maybe the comparison isn't 100% convincing. But the point is, Groves outboxed Eubank. He used his skills, and Smith has skills. He doesn't do anything really fancy. He doesn't really do anything flashy, but he's very, very well schooled and does a lot of great work consistently over the rounds, wins rounds clearly. I see this as a very, very close fight. I really do. If Smith can survive the early rounds. With Liam, what's his name, the Welshman, Williams, he got tagged early against Eubank in the first round and went on the floor. And for some reason, his punch resistance seemed to have waned, and Eubank was able to floor him a couple of times. But I think his tactics would have been good if he'd boxed Eubank, because when people choose to box Billy Joe Saunders, Groves, they do have success against Eubank because he only fights in spurts. So I see this as being a possible... Would it be an upset if Smith won? If Smith beat Eubank Jr.? I suppose it would in terms of names, but it wouldn't surprise me. But more to the point, again, I repeat, I'll get back to the original purpose of this video. I think this could be a very, very good fight, a very interesting fight, and it is being somewhat overlooked by the press. Maybe as we get close to the fight, which is in, was it 21st of January in Manchester, I believe it is. Yeah, okay, maybe they'll heat it up a bit and people will start to pay attention. But I'm telling you now, keep an eye on this fight. Could be a really, really, really good one. What do you think? Do you think I'm whistling Dixie? Do you think I'm talking nonsense? Do you agree with me? Do you sort of half agree with me? Who do you think will win? Do you think Smith's industry will eventually outwork Eubank, or do you think Eubank's power, the uppercuts, the flashy, explosive combinations that he sometimes lets go with, do you think that'll be too much for Smith? Size difference? What do you think of that? Leave all your comments below, because I'm interested in this fight. And yeah, leave your comments below. Subscribe if you're new. Like the video. You know the drill. Thanks for listening as always. I appreciate your time, and bye for now.